welcome back to another video. And in this video, I went with Send, which is a very rare item on Gwen. I wouldn't build it in most case scenarios. It's just not really that much of a good item on her because she scales with AP and there's no AP on that item. It's just tenacity, magic resistance, and attack speed. So I went that here. This is like a special case scenario game because they have a Malzahar, so magic resistance is good. Ash Arrow, her ult stuns you for days, and then Braum with Ash, they just perma slow you and can CC you, and then there's an Ivern. And Witt doesn't really do much for the Wukong because he has a knock-up on his ult, but like 4 of their team, all they got going for them is the CC, so I just built it this game because it seemed like a good item for this specific game in particular. And Miss Fortune, she deals damage, so does the Lowy, so I don't have to rely on myself to output damage. And I guess Swain kinda does some damage. He can damage the whole team with his ult, so my team, we're not lacking in damage. I can afford to go a non-AP item on Gwen here, and I was actually pretty excited playing this game for the Witt because I wanted to see how fast I could take down turrets, but Alawi, she was just doing that job for me. I mean, it is her job, so she was just doing very well and just taking everyone's turrets here. And I think, yeah, they tried to invade me. Gwen's very weakened to invade because she has a very unhealthy clear, so that happened. And Ivern, he's an annoying jungler in the beginning. He can smite your buffs, so I think he actually did that here. And I was so sad. I was so angry. I was kind of tilted, guys, so I just immediately ran bot to either take the crab or to check out if he had any camps up. He obviously didn't because he started on his blue side, but I didn't know that at the time. He didn't really have any wards anywhere, and the Miss Fortune, she just gets a nice double kill. See, look at my dumb butt checking camps. Nothing. So I think I go back to get the scuttle, and I was a little confused because I was like taking it, I was hitting it, I was slapping it around. As you can see, I have smite, but for some reason I didn't really. Oh, never mind. I guess that was another game. But in another game against an Ivern, I was so confused because the scuttle crab just suddenly stopped, and then it disappeared, and I was shocked. I was like, what? And if that happens and you're against an Ivern, it's him trying to be friends with it. He's trying to be friends with the turtle, so make sure you smite it before he takes it. For the Ivern Gwen matchup, he's a little annoying in the beginning because he will try to invade you and take your buffs, and he might cheese you, so that's why I warded my blue buff, the buff that I was pathing towards at 110, to see if he would start there, and if you spot the enemy jungler on that camp, you can just go to the other side and take his blue buff. So that didn't happen. They did a late invade. I guess they somehow knew I was pathing top boards, so yeah, it's very difficult to keep track of everything, and that's how you become a better player. You just have to be aware of what the top laner is doing, what the jungler wants to do, and the mid laner if you are pathing bot to top, and then vice versa if you're pathing top to bot. You gotta see if you have the priority to make a gank, or invade, or, get the scuttle. Speaking of Witt's actually a pretty good item if you play Gwen in Arena. I had a really fun game where I got 21 kills with a Yuumi on me, and playing Yuumi Gwen in Arena is so the early game is just awful, and you might just get kicked out before you actually reach late game, but late game, overpowered. I went Witt's and then I built Nashers, and another AP speed item. And Puppeteer, and I was just perma-CCing people, so I basically had like 2 supports with a Yumi on me, and the Puppeteer item. It's actually really, really fun. I would suggest you guys playing that if you like Arena. And, you know, Gwen is really good into Ivern because, as you just saw, I just took his top camps, and he wasn't there to take them. And I tried to gank this, but nothing comes out of it because Gwen's ganks suck, and he saw me. But at least we poked him down, and Alawi can get free plates. I mean, they got a shutdown on the Misfortune for the Ashe in bot side, and nothing really happened up top. I didn't kill the Wukong, so that was a pretty bad cross-map play on my part. But at least I get these grubs. I'm level 6. Ivern's probably doing the dragon, and he probably won't do my camps after, because Cloud Drake, it's kind of the stinkiest Drake to take early game. It just gives you move speed. Sure, it helps you get around the map, but it's not that great of a stat. And, you know, the Cloud Drake, it damages you, so you can't really do much but recall after. Unless he has, you know, Daisy. I can't tell if he's level 6 yet. So he most likely won't go for these camps because he's probably damaged from the Drake. And since the grubs didn't chunk me too bad, usually the second set really damages you, I just rotate to these camps to cycle them again. And I feel like as you move forward in a game as Gwen, you can just be a little bit lazy with your camps, and by lazy I mean you can go like Raptors into red into Krugs, because her clear speed's really fast, and it doesn't really matter if you take the time to take that buff, because your smaller camps will just still sync up because of how fast she takes them, if that makes any sense. Although I shouldn't be doing it here because I'm not taking them as quick as she can with more items on her. So I just pick up myself a recurve bow and a blasting wand and a glowing moat. It looks like a fairy in a bottle, so it just reminds me of Legend of Zelda when I see that item. And it's not that great on Gwen. Her ability haste is just not going to be there until like the late game. You don't really need to build ability haste on Gwen unless you really want to utilize her W, so if you can't really fight without her W and you prefer it, I would suggest you build Cosmic Drive. I prefer Riftmaker for her HP AP item. And I have tried going like Rod of Ages, but Rod of Ages this season isn't good. Like it last season when it was a legendary, it gave you ability haste, so it was kind of worthwhile then. For Lilia, I'm not really sure about Gwen. I didn't really use her that much in season 13. That was more of a Lilia one trick then. Until the later splits of that season. That's when I really took off with Gwen. And Alawi and Swain, they thought I was going to make a play up top on the Wukong, but I didn't. I just cleared my camps and greeted 4 of these plates. I took the plates for my mid laner, but it's fine because he's actually my duo buddy. I like playing with this guy because he has one of the best mentals ever. He never yells at me, even though I made a really bad mistake there. I should have been top killing the Wukong with them. But I do a little surprise attack on this Ivern. He still has flash up, but I managed to kill him. The only problem Gwen has with Ivern is that she gets CC'd, but she can just burst down that Daisy, so it's not the end of the world. Just know when to go in and when not to go in when Ivern has his Daisy. So I just take his blue buff and the crab. I don't greed for more because his team knows I'm there, right? So if I were to go for more for the Gromp or the Wolves, they just collapse on me and Ivan's up. So see, he's already on his Wolves, right? So I'm just going to clear my own camps now and reset them and just continuously cycle them. And, you know, the second set of grubs, they do so much damage, so it's really up to you if you want to risk going for them. Sometimes I'm happy with 3, but if I have a big lead on the enemy team, I try to accelerate that lead, recall, and prepare for battle for the grubs. Always try to not start them, because if you start them, the grubs will be aggressive on you and focus you, and they just do so much damage together because they like pop out a bunch of little baby grubs, and yeah, just don't hit them first if you're preparing for a fight. Just wait for the enemy team to hit them. I was pathing straight to the grubs, but then something happened in mid lane, so I rotated. And Swain is a champ who you can just, like, if he scales to level 6, you can just leave him alone in mid lane. He can usually 2v1 depending on the mid laner and the jungler. And I die here because Swain's ult was not up. He already used it, so he couldn't fight anymore. He just needed to push out the wave, and I still went to my top lane, and we didn't have prio, so Wukong was sitting in the bush waiting for me. But it's fine. When she outscales Wukong, he'll be mincemeat for her. And on the topic of duoing, like, if you are intent on playing Gwen jungle, I think it's a good idea to duo with a mid laner, because I've had a lot of games where my mid laner just ends up tilting, they lose their mind, and they start following me around, taking my camps, and then they stand still while I take objectives or go for a gank, and then if I go to farm their wave, they try to take the wave, and it's just a giant waste of time because when she executes minions, and her damage is a lot, so she can execute monsters, so they don't really get much out of it. Gwen still gets her CS, and they don't get the pleasure of taking CS away from you. So this has happened quite a lot because Gwen's early game is just so bad. It's best to play it safe, and playing it safe means not really ganking, not really going to bad plays, and that can just make aggressive laners like you know, Yones, Yasuos, and people who need to snowball lose their minds. But if you let Gwen scale, just look what happens. She just gets triples, so that's why I like to duo with someone who has strong mental, because yeah, you yourself as Gwen need strong mental to play her in the first place, because you will lose a lot of early game fights and you can just make the enemy snowball if you die early. And after that triple kill, I just go for the Drake because Infernal Drakes are pretty good, and it takes away soul point threat from the enemy team and prolongs the game. And since I'm already bot side, I just continue clearing these camps. The problem with duoing is that to make up for like matchmaking, they set you against players who are, you know, well, I guess like they set you against players who have higher MMR, and then you have players who have lower MMR on your team because they expect you to carry with your duo. So that's one way that you can not really win games as a duo. And sometimes they put you against an enemy team with a duo with a very high win rate, such as like a bot lane duo. And in my opinion, bot lane, the support, like ADC and support duos, are far superior than jungle and mid lane duos. And the person that I like to play with, they just play Swain, and he's not very good in this split, in this season, because it's ADC meta. And there's a prime example of Gwen getting CC'd, and I think it's at this point where I'm thinking, okay, I need to get like Merc Shreds or something, maybe even a Witt's End. And even though they were fighting for that Rift Herald, which isn't even that good, mind you, Laui gets tier 2, 700 gold in her wallet, and she's just going to be a menace. So I'm building towards a Rabadon's tier. I think that you can generally go Nashers into Rabadons, and if you're ahead, you can build silly items like Wetsun. Although it's not very silly here, it's actually a very worthwhile item because of the tenacity it provides. And even though they got the Rift Herald, that was pretty bad placement. I don't think you should ever just quickly plop it down as soon as you get it, because you should actually spend your Rift Herald gold. I get chunked because I couldn't move, and I had to recall again. My team goes in without me, and I'm just kind of hovering. I have my ult up here, so if they want to fight, Gwen can fight. And I also killed off that raptor camp. It's not as great as Lilia's healing, but at least it's something, right? I actually prefer playing obscure champs in the jungle. I remember when I first picked Lilia up, she was D tier. You know, my team kind of overextended. I kind of wanted to go back to farm, but I came back and died because the chain CC is just too strong. But as I was saying, I kind of like playing champs that are a little obscure because the enemy team, they usually don't know what to do into your champion. They've never really played it before because it's not as popular, and I think that's why I haven't really been enjoying Lilia as much, because she was one of the most popular jungler champs this season, and you know, the split and last split when Riftmaker faded, Ashes wasn't the thing, like Riftmaker was the thing to buy on her. And I think that's why I really enjoy Gwen right now, because no one really plays her in the jungle. She's still considered an exotic pick, but I'm very happy to see her in the LEC finals. Yike played her, and that's a real treat to watch, even though they didn't win, because when she's not that great, like she dies really easily, so then your team has no smite, so you have to play very, very carefully, and placing your W is very crucial in team fights, and it's just so easy to panic W on her. Just panic, miss, and hope for the best. So I think that's what happened in a couple of their team fights. And there was another Gwen game. It was a Gwen top, but they had like the best draft ever for Gwen. Like, I wish I had Braum on my team. I mean, Leona, she's still good, but Braum, she's better for Gwen in my opinion. And they also had a Swishwani jungle. Yeah, it was just a really good draft for Gwen, and I think they still lost. Gwen, she's just kind of weak in pro play, which I'm very happy with, because if she is strong, they definitely got her. Malzahar ulted the wrong person. The Swain was building tank, so he won't die to that ult. And here I'm just trying to get rid of this annoying Daisy. We scared them off, and we managed to get our second dragon, and this is like the best dragon against this team, because Chemtech gives you tenacity and some like magic resistance and armor the lower HP you are. And that's really good on Gwen too, because if you have the last stand rune, which is what I'm running, by the way, I'm just running her standard rune page, which will automatically upload for you if you let the client do that. Sometimes it glitches out and then you get like random top lane runes. I've had so many games where I've like had presence of mind in the jungle. and demolish and bone plating. But you know, if that happens, just adapt, just camp a lane and help them get plates. On that note, I find that Gwen's rune pages are pretty much the same, and I love seeing the creativity of other Gwen one tricks. Like sometimes I browse, you know, like the top 50 NA Gwen one tricks, and some of them go First Strike or like Hail of Blades. It's pretty cool to see that. I just stick with Conqueror because statistically that's her highest win rate rune, but I don't know, maybe I will stop caring about LP and try creative builds like that. And in this game, I just bought a Rabadon's and I'm building towards the Witt's End finally. I think that Witt's End here was really good, good game for it. Because she's kind of low damage, and then like Malzahar, he's squishy and he has to stand still for his ult, so my team can focus him down and kill him. And then you just get CC'd by everyone, and you know, Wukong, he's not that big of a threat to Gwen. And here my team wanted to start the Baron, but we got interrupted. And I think it's bad to team fight when Daisy's up. You should try to kill it or wait for it to expire and then go in on Ivern because he is vulnerable. So that's what my team's doing here. They just killed Ivern's Daisy. And then we jumped in. And that's typically how I team fight against an Ivern. Ooh! Lots of summoners spent. And Alawi is with us now, so I think here we just try to make a big push for this turret. To play macro well, in my eyes, is you alternate pushes between different lanes. So you see top lane, there's already, all the turrets are already gone, so we decided to go mid lane there. And I pop my ghost to disengage because I'm like half HP. Although don't be tricked by Gwen's HP, she can heal off champions if you hit the center of your Q, and if you land your needles. Your needles are just notoriously hard to hit. I still have trouble landing them. The build path for Witt's End is a little strange because it's 2 recurve bows and 1 Negatron cloak. So I find it not that great, like the components itself, not that great for Gwen because there's no AP. It's just attack speed and magic resistance, but like I said so many times before in this video, you know, they have a lot of magic damage on their team, and yeah, it's an okay build path here. And I just like did a very quick clear to buy it like really fast. I wanted to be on time for the Drake or Baron, but I wanted to have that Witt's End in my pocket. So I have it now, and I'm just prepping for this dragon fight. The third dragon for our team sounds pretty good because it's soul point, and I really wanted to get the Chemtech soul for our team just because they have a lot of CC. And I don't know why, but I just don't really like how they nerfed Merc Treads and like Tenacity and all that. It's just so obnoxious dealing with teams like these. And Misfortune did a nice ult there. And Braum disengaged, so I didn't bother throwing my needles. Braum's actually really good into Gwen because he can block her needles. It's a projectile and it blocks her her ult. I wonder if it blocks Lilia ult. I'm not too sure on that. So while my team pushes, I'm free to take this Drake. The beauty of Gwen jungle is that you can either take the objective really fast or you can take turrets, but I decided to go for this Drake, and just look how fast her attack speed is with Witt and Nashers, and I was going to build towards a Lichbane because I wanted to have fun with the structures on the map and see how fast Gwen can take them down with all of those 3 items together. So I'm trying very desperately to farm up a storm here because I really wanted to complete my Lichbane, but unfortunately I did not. I only got to the Sheen component in this game. How was your guys' start of the year? I always felt like September was the start of the year, not really January. I don't know why, but I guess it's because you have like a nice summer vacation, a big break, and then you're back to the grind, right? So yeah. I was never really a big fan of New Year's. I always get kind of like sad around that time. I don't know why, but I just kind of look back with like melancholy and nostalgia. In fact, I never really watched the countdown. I was never really into that. And yeah, fall is my favorite season, so I'm very much looking forward to it. I was very tempted to take that way from Misfortune. I really wanted to recall hair, but Misfortune wanted to push, so I was very conflicted on what to do. I'm just kind of walking around doing nothing. Good thing I used my Oracle lens. Imagine if they jumped me. I think playing like tank junglers are really good because you can face check for your team like that, but for Gwen, if you face check, it's a little bit risky. And they were doing the Baron. Poor Ivern. I actually am very fond of people who main Ivern because they're team players. And they're not playing greedy junglers like me. I just play AP carry junglers. Withstand and Nashor's Tooth, Gwen just smells this thing. I also have Rabadons too. And apparently you can solo the Baron with Rabadons and Nashor's Tooth. If you didn't know, now you know. And Alawi's in their base with the Baron buff. I think I get greedy here and I go for this inhibitor because I really wanted to see how fast I could take things. Yeah, I mean, like, I didn't even need to hit that because it just kind of died to the buffed minions anyways. And I bought my Sheen and I upgraded my Dark Seal into a Magi Soul Stealer because I was doing very well and so was my team. I find that it's worth it to build if like you're just so far ahead of the enemy team. It just ends games faster. But I wouldn't build it if they're on equal skill or equal footing as you. Like we're almost going to get soul, so I thought it was a good idea to just gamble on it, even though my Lichbane isn't complete yet. Speaking of strange builds, oh, here's the Wit's End in action. But just kidding, because Gwen's immune. If you didn't know this, Leona is technically the most overpowered champion in the game right now because, you know, tenacity, arc treads, all that. They're non-existent in this game, so she can just perma-CC people, and they can't do anything about it. Unless there's an enchanter. It's Mikhail's... I call it Michael's Blessing, okay? It's Michael's Blessing to me. I don't know the fancy angel name for it. And here we are, we're just gonna end the game. Without me building my much beloved Lichbane. Just keeping my distance from Daisy because Daisy can beat you to death, so don't want that happening. And if you guys made it this far, please like the video, comment on it if you want, and subscribe for more fun content. And I am definitely picking up Lilia after the nerfs. I just felt like she was boosting me so much. I didn't really like her. She felt overpowered, and I felt bad for like killing people.